I'm Amanda Grabb, and I'm from Embracing the Pain.
Hey, and how long has that been going on for? Like, I wasn't sure if that's been running for a couple of years, if that's a COVID baby, like core conversations, or like how long has it been running for?
Yeah, so the Embracing the Pain has actually been around for a little over 2 years. The
Okay.
ser- the business service side has only been around for a year and a bit. So that's still a baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, how did you just decide to start this? And you're saying it was a group before it was a business side. So, can you talk about just the nuts and bolts of the business itself?
Yeah, so like I said, Embracing the Pain originally was something that was sparked out of my own journey with chronic illness and pain. And I just really wanted to share my basically my life motto of embracing the pain and what that kind of looks like, and how it's lived out every day in our day-to-day life with chronic illness and
Mm,
pain. And then, like I said, a little over a year ago, I decided to add some services to that where I saw a need,
okay.
um, which included some one-on-one coaching and consulting and mentorship, where I can really just come alongside a client or a person with chronic illness or pain or trauma and just help them discover what embracing the pain means to them and how they can live that out in their
Yes.
life. But also my other main thing is making wellness with illness and pain possible. So with the
Okay.
focus of actually integrating wellness and healing into our journey and not just being focused on how to manage and navigate our illness and pain.
So, so what you're saying is like instead of just spending all my energy trying to focus on taking away the pain, find health and well-being globally speaking.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I could imagine how I would like, I was just joking about with this piece of equipment, how like I want to do everything and be a national distributor. Like I zero in on whatever it is.
Yeah.
I I have so much compassion for people who live with that chronic pain because I know my own personality. I would zero in on all of my energy on that, and I wouldn't be surprised if it like I even with my client whom we both know, um, how joyous she is and how hopeful she is. Like I admire that because I don't know if I'd have that same level of joy and hope. I think I'd be so tunnel vision.
Mhm. Yeah. And to be honest, I'll share a little bit of my story. Before Embracing the Pain was invented and created, I lived in a very dark place for many years, which actually led to suicide attempts and just really a deep, dark, hopeless despair that I felt, was never ending. And I didn't know how to live despite my illness and pain. It controlled every aspect of my life. It led every decision. It called all the
Mhm.
shots. And it's not that
Yes.
that's changed per se. Obviously, I have hope and joy, and my life and my mindset are completely different now. But I still very much have no control over what my body decides to feel on any particular day or at any particular moment.
Yes.
And I go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No, no, I know. I'm just I hear you because it's
Yeah.
um the conversations that I have with people and that we have here on Core Conversations a lot are with people and Pilates and how they show up every day. And your body shows up differently every day with a body that is healthy. So when you layer in chronic illness, that's a different level of pain or fatigue. Or like you said this morning, I'm feel a bit tired. Me
Yes.
saying I'm tired and you saying you're tired are two worlds apart.
Exactly. Yes. And I do admire that about you, Martin, that you can see that and accept that, because not everyone who doesn't have an illness or pain has that capability or understanding, or even is able to kind of, have that outside thinking about how much it would be different to live a life with those added, added pain and symptoms. So yeah, it's very different when, I say I'm tired, it's more exhaustion. And like we all talk about fatigue, right? Exhaustion, fatigue,
Yes.
different levels and things like that. But yeah, I mean, every day is different. And I have to, in terms of embracing the pain and coaching, it actually changes drastically for me. Something I love so
Yes.
much about what I do is that I meet my clients where they're at. So my coaching is client led. And I love so much that I can literally coach
Okay.
my clients from their bed. Oh, we're good?
Yes. Yeah, we're here. There's a
Yeah.
bit of delay again, but yeah. Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I
No,
love
it's
that I
on my
can
side. I
coach
got a
them.
call.
Oh, okay. I love that that I can coach them from their bed. I mean, there's some times with clients where they're literally just laying flat on their back, and I just say it's okay, just lay there. You know, we'll still talk. We'll try. We can get off if you need to, but I just love that I'm able to kind of hold their hand through it, you know, and be
Yes.
able to we're still talking, we're still trying to be forward thinking and intuitive about ways that we can manage that pain and work through it, but also really just being embracing it, right? Like just being like, we're
Yes.
not going to let this keep us down. We're not, this isn't this pain we're experiencing right now, whether it be very high, isn't going to always, you know, it's not going to be high necessarily all day. So let's just get
Yes.
through this, right? And so that's one aspect of many things that I do with my coaching, but that's one part I love so much, that I can meet them where they're at on any day. And the same goes for my clients with me. I sometimes coach in my pajamas from my bed when I'm having
Yes.
a really rough day, no makeup, nothing like you see today. And they just love me and they accept me. And they say, you know what, this is what I love so much about working with you, because there's that
Yes.
transparency and I'm with them in it. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. There's a book that I read a long time ago on leadership, and it had the concept of a wounded healer.
Mm,
And I loved that concept because we think that, whether it's as a fitness professional or as a counselor, my background is in counseling, that I need to be all together. I need to be perfect,
yes.
right? And it took me years to figure out that I don't have to have everything together. I had to go through my own personal challenges and things to come to a place where I have to accept the fact that I'm not perfect. We all know that. But today, I'm not 100% strong. But even in my woundedness, I'm going to help you walk through your journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. And it's an honor. And I myself, I'm a perfectionist, a recovering perfectionist, as I should say.
Yes.
And it was even funny this morning prior to getting on. I do lives every Wednesday, and I always have note cards, and I always have everything outlined. You know, anything like if there's a
Hmm.
question, I try and foresee it. I like to be prepared. I like to come together having all my ducks in a row, and so even as a business owner, it was very difficult for me to even come like that. Like, but I had to
Yes.
accept, like you said, I had to accept that there will be days where my illness will say, no, not today, Amanda. But
Hmm.
I still want to show up, and I still do, but I just show up in the way that I am. And I'm still able to help my clients. I'm still able to be there for them. And see, I totally get what you're saying, is that, that idea that we have to be together or put together all the time in order to be
Yes.
a source of strength or help or to be a good coach. But I find the opposite is actually true. My clients actually seem to love that more, that transparency, that realness and rawness.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely. And for those of you in the fitness world who are out there, how many of you have clients who revel in the fact that you show up late for a session, or you sleep in on the session altogether, or you forget something? Those moments when your humanity comes out, they're just like, yes, you're human too. Like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the session. We'll find another time to do it. That's happened to me, and I feel like just I want to beat myself up, and I'm gonna give you like the next week for free, because
yeah,
I
I
missed today. And they're like, no, just like don't worry about it. It happens,
know.
but it's not supposed to happen to me,
Yeah.
right? Like that's how we think, and so people actually like to see our humanity.
Yeah, definitely.
That's so funny. There's a comment here that came through. Earth Malika said, "The archetype of a wounded healer has helped me make sense of my purpose." I love that because it not only does it help make sense of your purpose, it gives you permission in your purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It really does. I feel like that's almost like, okay, here's your ticket to run. Like don't have to wait until everything is right to
Yes.
run. You can do what you can now. And that's a whole, I mean, if you can talk about this for a second, man, it's just that dialogue between being and doing.
Mm, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, what in terms of that idea of wanting to do something but not being able to do it, is that what you're trying to get at?
Yep. And by contrast, just showing up anyways in your pajamas or just
Yeah.
being there on your day of pain. Right? You know what I mean? Like there's a sense of we feel like we need to be doing all the time when the reality is that the call is for us to be.
Yes, yes. And that's actually something I think that this past year in 2021, as I said, like my business, the business side of embracing the pain is newer.
Mhm.
And I already shared that I'm one of those, like my strengths are like a developer and focus and productivity. And so I'm always wanting to do, always. And this past year, I shared already that I've had to really accept and embrace the fact that, in order to be able to serve and be what I'm supposed to be, I actually have to pull that back a lot. And it
Yes.
has been so hard. And this is where my assess acronym, I have an acronym that I actually teach my clients and I use in
Okay.
my everyday life that helps me with this, because it's a day, every day is different, as we discussed, and there's things
Hmm.
that I want to do. I still plan because I'm a planner. I'm an optimistic, so I still plan. But
Yes.
a lot of times I'll have like a 30 list to do list, which is ridiculous because
Right.
like
Yeah.
I have chronic pain and multiple illnesses. Like, of course, I'm not going to be able to do that 30 task list.
Mhm.
But I'm slowly learning to prioritize and learn how to accept and embrace what I can do. And to also
Yes.
just know that whatever I can do is enough. And going back to the acronym, it's acceptance is the first step, right? A,
Hmm.
acceptance. And then S is self-awareness, like really just being
Yes.
aware of our mind, our body, our emotions, and how, listening to them, honoring them. And
Yes.
then discipline, because you have to be disciplined, right? And I'm sure you get this, Martin, with
Yes.
fitness, right? It takes discipline to show up every
Mhm.
day, whether you're doing Pilates or you're doing, anything really in life.
Right.
And then E is for embrace the pain, is you got to embrace what the day holds for you, whether that be really high pain or, nauseousness or just extreme fatigue, brain fog, not being able to concentrate. And then the last two are self-care. Obviously, prioritizing that self-care is so important for those of us with illness and pain.
Yes.
And then self-love is just showing ourselves that, our worth doesn't come from our productivity or are able to do more things. It comes, what you
Right.
said, in being who we're meant to be and embracing who, we want to be and who we're working to be.
Yes. I almost want to spend more time on the word embrace. Like there's a word image that comes with embrace because it's not just grabbing something. It's not
No.
just, you know what I'm saying? Like it's embracing is different than holding it. Embracing is different than just, like I'm not embracing my cup right now, right? I'm just holding
Yeah.
on to it. So this, I don't know, like, do you spend a lot of time on that word embrace and what that really means for you and for your people? Like, do you get people to really lean into that word embrace for them and their pain?
I definitely try. Yes, I would say more for my clients who work with me one on one than my community,
Okay.
because the thing with embracing the pain is, and I've shared this before, is that it is a unique um, journey for every individual. Just like every person is different,
Hmm.
embracing your pain is going to be different, look different, and be different, deter- based on the person's situation, illnesses, symptoms, pain. And so that's what makes it a little hard, is that as much as it's a great analogy and it works and people
Hmm.
love that, embracing the pain, it's a little hard because it's not just like a straightforward, this is what that means, right? Because it has
Right.
to go with the individual person. And
Absolutely.
yeah. But I actually do have another acronym. I'm big on acronyms, and I won't share it, but I have another acronym based on embrace itself, the word
Okay.
embrace, and then the word pain. And that's the second. I kind of have, pardon me, assess is kind of the solid foundation where we use that assess to build a solid foundation. And then the embrace the pain is that next level where it's like we have that solid foundation. Now we can really dive into what it means to embrace your pain. And yeah, so I definitely fixate on that word. And it is more than just holding something. It's really, in a way, I like to see it as you're like hugging, like you're embracing, you're not fighting it, you're not arguing with it, you're not angry at it, but you're just, just fully aware, and you're okay. You're accepting it. You're able to move on with this just acceptance and embracing. Does that make sense?
It does. So
Yeah.
if I was to hear that and be like, but then I'm letting it win. It's defeating me at that point then.
Yes.
So what do you say to someone who's stubborn in their battle?
Yes. And there is a true side to that, actually, because there also needs to be room for grief, anger, frustration, sadness, and there is great loss in having illness and pain. I can't deny that. Even in my own life, there are things that I can't do that I could do a couple of years ago. One example of that's been huge this year is that I used to pride myself on being a homemaker. I'm making dinner for my family every night. And this past year, my husband has had to take that main role for me. He makes dinner almost every night so that I can do embracing the pain, so that I can show up this way. And that was extremely hard for me. And I had to work through it. I didn't feel like embracing that at the beginning. I was angry.
Yeah, I hear you. Right. Yeah.
And I was frustrated, and I grieved that. And I know it seems stupid. It's just making dinner. But to me, it was this huge thing that was being taken away from me, that I was losing again, was losing a battle. And every time, we hit one of those walls, because we do, it just naturally happens where, we're thriving, we're doing well, we're managing, we're navigating, and boom, out of nowhere, the medication or the therapy or the exercises or whatever we were doing aren't working anymore. And we're hit with that initial anger, grief, frustration, and just being like, really again? Like, this is like, and so as much as I'm all for embracing the pain, I'm also for working through that before we're able to embrace the pain, if that makes sense, right?
It makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, I think of my example, for those who don't know, like we have, I think the lady that's in your group is one of my clients.
Yes.
So using her example, there are that embracing the pain, embracing where you're at, grieving, and all these elements are so key. And what I'm finding is, being a person who's helping her and listening to her, is that when she embraces her pain, and I see that as she progresses, because there's days that she's better and there's days where she's worse. But hearing that, and for her to embrace it, allows me to see where she is so we can celebrate progress. Because that progress is sometimes so subtle that we miss it if we're not really paying attention to where a person is. I'm glad you hit on that, Martin, because that is something I also really try and help my clients with, because the progress isn't necessarily going to be huge physical changes. Most of the time, it's actually very mentally, like mental changes, emotional changes, mindset changes, thought changes, and also focusing more on what we can control versus what we can't, and embracing what we can control, and kind of learning to let go of what we can't, right? Which is more of that physical side. Right.
So going back to that, I literally just got brain fog in that moment. It just slipped away. There we go.
Celebrating the smallest of changes or progress.
Yes, thank you. Yes, so and even in my own life, I'm very self-critical, And it took a long time for me to feel like I was actually making progress. And I see it with my clients all the time. They're like, but Amanda, physically, I'm not doing better. I feel like I'm doing worse. I actually had a client last week or the week before last. It was such an amazing session. She has been working with me for almost a year now. And
Wow. Okay.
and she came to me more freshly diagnosed. So she was just got diagnosed, was trying to work through things. And she was physically, we were seeing decline physically for her, less mobility, more pain. Her pain management wasn't working very well. And, but we worked through that. We worked through it with focusing on the things she could control, focusing on the way she thought about that, focusing on, you know, her thoughts, and then also really helping her see the progress amongst the fact that the physical aspects weren't going in the way she wanted. She was still progressing greatly in other areas that she could control. She was setting a routine and sticking to it. She was, and she even told me, Amanda, she's like, I'm actually know what embracing the pain means now. And she told me that in the session. And she said, it's so funny because if people ask me if I'm feeling better, because she's working to get back to work.
Okay.
She was on short-term disability, and so she's working towards getting back to work. And someone in the office had said, you know, so are you better now? Are you doing, you know, physically you're doing better? And she said, no, quite the opposite. You know, physically I'm actually at what I'd say my worst, but I'm ready to come back because I feel like I have the tools and the strategies to manage this illness and to embrace it instead of fight it. And anytime I hear a client get to that point, it's just amazing. I love it. And it took, like I said, she started working with me in April of last year. So not quite a year yet. But it took her quite a while to kind of get to that point. But we worked on the foundation, the assess, focusing on those things and on what she could control. And ultimately she got there. And she's still working with me because she just, you know, because there's those ups and downs. And she just loves to have that support and hand holding through that. But yeah, that's just one example.
That's amazing. I think it's a sobering message too for people who hear what you're saying. And say, I want to connect with you. It's like, it might take a year. like you know what I mean? Like, we need to say that. It's like someone who comes to me and says, I want 6-pack abs because I'm going on vacation in 3 weeks. I'm like, well, that's not going to happen that quickly. We'll get there, but we may have to reassess what your goals are and all those different things. So do you spend a lot of time on like actual like goal setting with people based on where they're at?
Yes. So basically the way it works is after, you know, they decide to work with me, we sit down and we create goals with, again, with knowing, right? And knowing that just because we set a goal doesn't mean we have to hold firmly to it as much. And I know some people might not like that idea, but because we're working with things that illnesses and pain, things we can't just kind of control, we have to be able to kind of be like, it's okay if this thing isn't met by this time. Like we still set some timelines and some loose things, but they're loose for intentionally for a reason so that my clients don't get there and think I've made no progress. No, let's really go back and see, right? No, you made progress here, you made progress there, right? It might not be the goal we had set, but actually we uncovered a limiting belief. We uncovered, you know, thoughts that were holding you back.
Huge, right?
It's huge. Yes. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, the more you talk about this, Amanda, it sounds almost like a transition coach. Like, you know how like when someone loses their job, like if their big corporate job, and then they send off with a coach because there's a piece of your identity that dies when you lose your job you've been working in for 40 years.
Yes. Yeah.
You've been a principal in a school for the last 40 years, and now you're retired and you have nothing because your whole identity was wrapped around it. They'll bring in a transition coach to help you to navigate what life looks like now.
Yes, that's a great, I think you hit the nail there. Definitely, Martin. I've never thought of it like that, but yes, I do love that transition coach. I do like that.
Ding, 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 ding. As the comment from Chronic Pain Mystery.
Oh, that's Danny. She's one of my, hey Danny, thanks for joining, hun. She's one of my clients.
There you go. So that's what it sounds like, right? Like you're a transition coach.
Yeah.
You've heard some news. You have to now navigate the grief of not being able to make dinner for your family every night
Yes.
because that means something to you. That's a big thing that now has been taken away from you.
Right. Yeah.
Now what?
Yeah. It is also a lot of like reinventing yourself, rediscovering yourself in
Yes.
this either new body that, you don't, if it's illness or pain that's kind of
Mhm.
come in, or even if it's just, loss of a grief, like you said, job or loss of a person. I think I could probably work with any of those types of people,
Absolutely.
given my past as well, which definitely has shaped how I coach, how I consult and mentor for sure.
Yes, absolutely. You said reinventing. One of the words I wrote down right away from my counseling background is rescripting,
Oh, I like that. Yes. So changing
right?
the
Because
narrative.
you're changing the narrative. So you're not changing who you are. I don't have to
No.
reinvent
Yeah.
myself. I just have to change the narrative around who I am at this stage of my life.
Yes. I like that. That's way better wording. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, because like it's like there's pieces of you die, but you're still you. Like you
Oh, yeah.
and there's still that essence of who you are and um what's what I'm looking for. But yeah, but basically who you are. Right? You're still the same person, but now it has a different expression, right?
Exactly. Yeah. New
Yeah.
challenges and
Yeah.
struggles, circumstances. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I see Explore Pilates comment here, or empty nesters. Like, yes, like other people, different life stages. And
Yeah.
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 So,
Very.
one of the things you said earlier, man, was just about this sharing of your experience and stuff like that. Can you talk about what you were doing before, like what, job wise, that kind of thing that you now transitioned to this? Like, what was your career before this?
So to be honest with you, my chronic illnesses and pain actually came when I was 15,
Oh, okay.
making it extremely challenging to ever really get to my dream career or have a significant job title. I wasn't even able to finish the last year of high school because I was having several surgeries. Just had no managed pain, nothing. It was just terrible. However, I eventually did go into retail for a while, and I loved it. I did retail in selling baby stuff like strollers and car seats, installing car seats, things like that. And I had two new kids that were 18 months apart, so it worked really well for me. I was able to kind of connect with
Yeah.
those customers that were coming in, and so I did that, and then I had to go from full time to part time. And then eventually I was out of work for probably 5 years, just really trying to get myself well and incorporate wellness with illness and pain in my own life.
Mm.
And then that's when Embracing the Pain was born, and making wellness with illness and pain came to be another part of my life. And yeah, so
That's exciting. It's like, I mean, anyone who jumps into this entrepreneurial world from a lived experience
yeah.
excites me because I'm like,
Okay.
okay, they're not just like looking at where they can make money, they're
Oh,
living this
oh
and
yeah.
they're like, okay, now let's go and let's pull other people into this and grow it. Like you're building community.
Yes, that's my key. Yeah. And money is the last thing on my thought. Like truly. It's not why
Mhm.
I do what I do.
Yeah.
And honestly, I get in trouble a lot from other mentors and coaches because I don't charge anywhere close to what other coaches charge, because it's not why I do what I do.
Right.
It fulfills me. It's my purpose. I love just to help and come in alongside you. And yeah, that's where my heart's at.
Can I get a show of hands from the Pilates community? That's exactly it. So I mean, there's always a dialogue that has to come between how do you make a living and how do you
Yeah.
help as many people as possible, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, that's everybody's plight. So
Yes.
I mean, there's people like and like Leslie Logan who came on yesterday talking about profitable Pilates, and we joked about that being an oxymoron because you are here to help people. You're not here to make it profitable, but there are ways that it can be done in
Yeah.
a non-slimy salesman type way. And I
Yeah.
think that, when it comes down to our core, a lot of us, and not that I'm preaching to you here right now, but I think a lot of times that's how we are, is that we don't want to be perceived as that pushy salesperson. So we run from the sales side altogether.
Yeah. I'm guilty of that, actually. I've been working through that mindset stuff and changing the narrative around that too, because again, I still am working through, I'm very much still on my journey. I tell my clients all the time, this is a race until the end. Like, I'm still enduring it. I'm still going through it. I'm nowhere near the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
And due to my past, I was actually, when I was young, I was homeless. So there's a lot of like money mindset stuff that I've really had to work through as a new entrepreneur, because
Yes.
they're like, you need to make a profit, right? And I'm just like, like it's so
Right.
against every grain in my body. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I also need to actually get out there and say like, hey, like I want, like I actually, need more clients. I want to help more people. So
Mm-hmm.
that's something in the new year that I'm definitely working on. So yeah.
That's I mean, that's real talk. Like, I think everyone is working on that, and just when you feel like you've nailed it, there's going to be another arena where you have to start right from the
Yeah.
beginning again and get through it. Much like, this whole your whole embracing pain journey, right? Like,
Yeah.
I feel that. I feel comfortable asking for money, and I feel comfortable with what I charge for my Pilates.
Yeah.
And then as I move into this political arena, I'm gonna have to go out and canvas and go knock on doors and start this popularity contest.
Oh,
And it's nauseating to me, the thought of all that.
yes.
You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? So like,
I totally get it.
I get it. So I'm not saying like you need to make a profit too. But like, yeah, but like
No, I know.
embrace that too, right? Like
Yes.
really embrace the
Yes.
fact that that's a struggle that you're gonna have to get through
Yeah.
and get to a place where you can unapologetically charge more and still see as many people and still help as many people and then strategize ways to make it accessible too. Like
Yeah.
that's the ongoing conversation of how do I make my money and make my business accessible.
Yes. Yeah. For sure. And congratulations, by the way. I heard about the you going for the councilman, right? You said
Mhm.
council? Yeah, that's amazing.
City council. Yeah,
Congratulations. You'll be great in
thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I'm hoping I get there. It's work, right? It's gonna be a grind, so I'm looking forward to it. Anita's comment here. Thanks for bringing this topic to our attention. People are uncomfortable addressing pain and profit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
so, it is very uncomfortable, right?
It is.
Like, I mean, and
Yeah.
especially because now for what you're doing to Amanda, like you have a niche, you have a specialty,
Yeah.
you're an expert in this, and it sounds, it might not land properly with you, but like that you're an expert in this, right?
I will act. I can actually. I'm okay with that. I had to work through that, but
Good.
I actually, expert is having
You passed
enough
that test
experience
already.
in a particular thing, and I have.
Yes,
I mean, I've been at this for 14 years, right? I know the ins and outs.
bring
I
it.
I can literally tell my client what they're thinking sometimes, and they're like, "Oh my
Hmm.
gosh, like that's exactly how'd you get in my head?" And I'm like, "Because I've been where you are right now." So yes, I'm
Yes.
okay with saying that.
Good. Like,
Yes.
but yeah. So then that's I hear people say it to me too, and I'm like, oh, thank you. Like, you know. So yeah. So that's you're right. It is. These are uncomfortable conversations and things to address, but I think that all of us are at some point going through it, or we'll go through it again if you feel like you've already nailed it, right? So.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I think just from my side or my perspective and from the community that I'm coming from, it's also hard for me, and something I'm working through too, is that my ideal clients aren't people who tend to have a lot of money. They're
Mhm.
on disability. They're
Yep.
they don't have jobs, and so
Right.
that I wanted to touch on that a little bit too, because I think that is what
Hmm.
probably holds me back in charging more
Right.
than anything
Yeah.
else, is like, and it's not all of them. I don't mean to generalize that. I mean, I know
Hmm.
people with chronic illness and pain who have good jobs. Like even one of my
Yes. Or
clients,
benefits, or right. Like.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
Right.
one of my clients was an engineer prior to needing my services. And
Hmm.
so obviously that's a very, good job. But
Yes.
at the same time, a lot of them, like a good amount of them are on disability or don't have a lot of benefits, or, you know, just aren't able to work. And so I always, that's where I get stuck a lot, right? It's just like,
Yes.
so going into the new year, I've committed to changing that you know, that narrative a little bit to, it's going to be a case-to-case situation, right? Like
Like a
it's going to
sliding
have to
scale.
be dependent on, you know, who the person is, what their situation is. Because I, like you
Yes.
said, I want it to be accessible. I don't want someone to feel they can't access me simply because they're, you know, they don't have the funds for it.
Hmm.
So that's
Right.
just one
Yeah.
side that I wanted to bring out about.
For sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Like yeah. I usually make it a practice to have someone on my roster who's not paying anything at all.
Amazing. That's great.
You know what I mean? Like, um, in full disclosure, like even us talking about doing more classes, like when I'm like, I'll do more, right? And you're like,
Yeah,
well,
I
I don't know
know.
if we can like the business can afford it yet. It's like, no,
Yeah.
but there will be places where you have the opportunity to make it accessible, and there will be times when, say, a corporation will come in and say, we'd like you to come and speak, and you're like, well, as the expert, I'm going to charge this
Yeah.
exorbitant amount of money because it's coming out of your corporation's pocket, not out of someone
Yeah.
who can't afford my services pocket, right? So you
Right.
find that balance in your
Yeah.
expertise. So
Definitely. Yeah.
that's exciting. You're doing great work.
Well, thank you.
Great
And so
work.
are you.
Thank you. Just another comment here from Anita. Pain refines empathy, which in turn makes us better listeners.
100%.
Mhm. Yes. Yes, it's coming. Totally. VA Fit Vision says, great topic going to 2022, releasing insecurity and welcoming growth spiritually and naturally. Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I have to say that too, like that's like the spiritual, the natural piece, even like the emotional versus physical pain. Like a lot of what we're saying, I'm hearing it and seeing it through the lens of my emotional pain from my past, not having any chronic pain, but emotional pain, and just recognizing how I've haven't had to embrace that, how I've had to navigate through that to come to this. So I'm not saying that they are equal in by
No,
any means, but um,
they, in,
living with that, right?
I will say from my own experience, so I haven't shared too much, I don't think, but um, I've endured pretty much every trauma someone can endure. And so I have a lot of um, emotional scars, physical scars. You know, I was physically abused, sexually abused. I was homeless. I went in and out of foster care systems as a child. Then I lived in a cult in the States for a few years. Then when I was only 13, came back when I was
Yes.
15. That's when all my chronic illness and pain stuff started. So I've really like had a lot of lived emotional, physical, not just in the spectrum of chronic illness and pain. And that is so true. Like emotional stuff it can be as significant as the physical pain and the illness too. So I definitely agree with you there. I'm not saying it's the same, but there is definitely an understanding that can come from the emotional side.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? You can
Right.
relate to it a little.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. I'm very careful with that too. Like you're just saying about being sensitive about where people are, because like it's like when people have children and then someone comes to you and talks about their puppy and you're like, that's not the same. You
Oh
know?
yeah.
So yeah, so respecting that.
Yes, there
Right?
is. Oh, yes, for sure. Because definitely, I know in the chronic illness community, like that is something people don't like, right? When it's just like you're comparing your broken leg to their chronic pain. People are going to get upset about that, obviously, right?
Right.
But
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. I compare my car to their dog just to rub it in a little bit sometimes, just to make the point. That's not the same. Nah, thank you. Yes. So anyway, that being said, how can we support you? Like, do you have a website? Is it more like Facebook, Instagram? How can we point people to you to help you grow this?
yeah, that would be amazing. So yeah, I do have a website, and I believe it's in my link in my bio. It's embracingthepain.com.
Mhm.
And I have a Facebook group / community that's we just changed the name and it's a little long, So it's embracing the pain while making wellness with illness and pain possible.
Okay.
And I'm on Instagram as well. The handle's embracing the pain one day at a time.
Yep.
And yeah, so you guys can find me in those places, Facebook, Instagram, and my website.
Nice. And when I was working for big box gyms and I was trying to say like, okay, I want people to come upstairs and do Pilates. I used to say to the salespeople downstairs, if someone says back pain, tell them about Pilates. If someone says yoga, tell them about Pilates. If someone says this, tell them about Pilates. What are some of those keywords that if someone says this, I need to point them to Amanda?
Yeah. If anyone says that they're wanting to better manage and navigate the turmoil in their life, if they're in a really dark place, mentally, physically, emotionally, if they, mention wanting to incorporate more wellness in their life with illness or pain. If they mention that they're a spoonie, that's another term that a lot of chronic illness and pain refer to as spoonie, based off of the spoonie theory.
Okay.
So that's another big one. Let me think. If they mention, obviously, like back pain, chronic pain, any type of, pain, whether it be chronic or not, and any type of illness, whether, again, that be chronic or not, loss or grief, trauma.
Okay. Good stuff. All right, everybody, support, show her some love. Thank you so much for joining me today, man. I'm really looking forward to working with you next year and just being part of your community, throwing down some Pilates workouts with all of your people.
Yes.
It's going to be fun.
Yes, I have a goal to lose 20 pounds this year, so let's hope Pilates helps me get there.
Yes, that's amazing. All right, thank you. I'm just reading all these comments here too. Chronic pain mystery. Go embrace the pain with Amanda. She helps you through your toughest times and puts a smile on your face while she does it. VA Fit Vision. Thank you. Got to run. Thank you so much for joining us for the conversation, everybody.
Yes.
Yes, so good. All right, Amanda. Thank you so much.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, we'll flip this over into a podcast. So I'd love for you to be able to use this to get people to get a vision of what you do. So doing great work.
Thank you so much. And we've also talked about having you on my show too. So hopefully we could do that.
Yeah. Let's do it. Okay, awesome. Okay, thank you so much. Enjoy your day.
You too. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.